Tonight, growing frustration over the delays in vaccinating Americans against COVID. The massive lines, seniors waiting overnight for shots. Fewer than 5 million vaccinated so far in the U.S., a fraction of the 20 million promised by the end of 2020. And the pharmacist in court, why prosecutors say he destroyed 500 doses. The U.K. ordering a national lockdown as that new COVID variant spreads. The new strain now detected in a fourth state, New York. Is the U.S. doing enough to stop it? Fears of a new surge after record travel over the holiday and the outbreak at a hospital. Wasn't an inflatable Christmas costume to blame? New fallout from that bombshell recording. President Trump pressuring Georgia's election chief to find enough votes to overturn Biden's victory. Did the call break the law? And the unprecedented effort to challenge the Electoral College results, leaving the Republican Party divided. The best diets for 2021 to keep that New Year's resolution. And the dramatic water rescue caught on camera. We talked to the hero rescuer tonight.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and Happy New Year. It's good to be back with you tonight in what we all hope to be a year of recovery from the pandemic. Alarms are sounding this evening about the slow pace of vaccinations. Doses distributed, but not yet in people's arms. Across the country, many of the most vulnerable left confused and frustrated as they wait their turn for shots. Tonight, officials insist the pace is picking up just as a post-holiday COVID surge and a new variant of the virus raise concerns. Tom Costello tells us where things stand.
Across the country, infuriatingly long lines for vaccination. So far, fewer than 5 million doses have been administered after the Trump administration promised 20 million shots by the end of last week. With 50 different states and distribution plans, the hang-up seems to be at the local and state levels.
Only 1 out of 8 vaccines designated for long-term care facilities in the United States was administered as of January 2nd, 1 out of 8, and that's a highly vulnerable population.
In Florida, senior citizens waited for hours after being told to make an appointment, only to receive messages that all appointments have been filled or that a website crashed. In Daytona, the line has already formed for tomorrow morning's shots.
We're all set. We got a sleeping bag in the back seat and pillows and blankets, because it's going to get cold tonight.
Frustrated public health experts say it's time for the federal government to help states. Former Trump FDA chief Scott Gottlieb writing in the Wall Street Journal, the major pharmacy chains combined can deliver up to 100 million vaccines a month. Why not get started now?
The idea that a vast majority of the vaccines we've produced are sitting in freezers across the country and not getting into people's arms is a crisis in the context of how much disease we have in the community.
Today, the medical workers who received a vaccination 3 weeks ago began returning for the required follow-up dose. Calls to delay the second dose or cut doses in half to protect more people, largely opposed by health experts. Today, Moderna said it will up vaccine production by 20%, with the U.S. securing 100 million doses by the end of March, another 100 million by June. Meanwhile, Wisconsin pharmacist Stephen Brandenburg, charged with deliberately destroying 500 vaccine doses, appeared virtually in court today after allegedly telling police he didn't think the vaccines were safe.
Tom, we know there are a couple of more vaccine candidates coming down the pike. When might they be approved?
We expect Johnson & Johnson to go before FDA for emergency authorization in February. Now, that vaccine requires 1 shot, not 2. Meanwhile, AstraZeneca's vaccine could be delayed by a few months because of safety concerns that came up during the drug trials. Lester?
All right, Tom Costello tonight. Thanks. Drastic new measures this evening in England. A new national lockdown announced there just as the UK began giving people the first shots of a vaccine developed there. Richard Engel has the latest now from London.
The UK tonight acknowledged it's losing its battle against the new strain of the virus, up to 70% more contagious, and needs to lock down immediately. England is closing schools and universities and banning all but essential movements.
You may only leave home for limited reasons permitted in law, such as to shop for essentials, to work if you absolutely cannot work from home, to exercise, to seek medical assistance.
Prime Minister Johnson said the lockdown will last until mid-February. By then, he said, the UK will have vaccinated all people over 70, all those in care homes, and all frontline medical workers. As of today, the UK began distributing its homegrown Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which, unlike the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, doesn't require ultra-cold temperatures, making it easier to store and distribute.
Why do you think this will change things?
This will change things because it's the light at the end of the tunnel.
For the rest of Europe, the vaccine rollout has been extremely slow. France only recorded 516 vaccinations in the first week. French officials vowing to speed up what some in France are calling a fiasco.
Prime Minister Johnson said the lockdown could extend beyond February if the virus isn't under control. British health experts are also worried about a South African strain that's even more mutated than the UK variant. And the more the virus mutates, the more it's potentially resistant to the current vaccines. Lester.
One more concern tonight. Richard Engel, thank you. Also breaking this evening, New York becoming the latest state to announce a case of that new, more contagious strain from the UK, as much of the country braces for another holiday surge on top of an already disastrous situation. With more, here's Miguel Almaguer.
The current crisis in California is the kind of holiday surge the rest of the nation is now bracing for. In just 1 month, hospitalizations and ICU occupancy has doubled. In Los Angeles, ambulances are waiting up to 8 hours to offload patients.
I've already had 2 patients die in the last 3 days.
At one hospital in Northern California, 44 employees became infected with the virus, one losing their life overnight. Officials investigating if an air-powered inflatable costume worn by an employee may have been the source of the outbreak. The National Guard now activated to transport bodies ahead of what nurses like Anna Reese fear will be the deadliest surge.
About to walk into work and thinking about all the Americans who are traveling.
In the last 3 days, nearly 3.5 million Americans took to the sky. It comes after scenes like these over New Year's and now more confrontational protests from those who refuse to wear masks. Nationwide, more than 352,000 Americans have lost their lives to COVID. Georgia, the 10th state to lose at least 10,000 residents. In Massachusetts, where field hospital admissions are outpacing discharges, more than 40 COVID cases have been tied to a Christmas service outside Boston. In New York, in the last month, hospitalizations are up a staggering 96%. No region is safe.
Every day is extremely stressful. I have nurses that we break down in tears.
Tonight, the new year bringing new challenges and perhaps another deadly holiday surge.
With many testing sites up and running again at full capacity, the FDA is warning again of false negative tests, underscoring the need to isolate if you've traveled. Lester?
Miguel Almaguer tonight. Thanks. Let's turn now to that stunning phone call. President Trump pushing for Georgia's Secretary of State to overturn his election defeat there. It's created a new firestorm on the eve of critical Senate elections. Here's Kristen Welker.
Tonight, last-minute campaigning with just 1 day until Georgia's key Senate runoffs.
We need you to vote, Georgia.
Including President-elect Biden taking aim at President Trump.
I don't know why he still wants the job. He doesn't want to do the work.
It comes after the president can be heard on a call pushing Georgia's Republican election officials to overturn his loss in the state. NBC News obtained a recording of that stunning 62-minute conversation where the president urges those officials to find votes for him. Biden narrowly won Georgia by 11,779 votes.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
Later, saying to the Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger,
and there's nothing wrong with saying that, that you've recalculated.
The president repeatedly asserting false claims of widespread fraud.
There are many infractions, and the bottom line is many, many times the 11,779 margin that they said we lost by.
Raffensperger pushing back.
Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data you have is wrong.
Today, Raffensperger said he did not feel the president pressured him. But Republican Senator David Perdue, who is locked in a razor-tight race in tomorrow's runoff, slamming Raffensperger.
And I'm still shocked that a member of the Republican Party would tape a sitting president and then leak that. That's disgusting in my view.
Late today, Raffensperger insisting he did not release the audio in an interview with NBC's Blaine Alexander.
I don't know how it got released, but at the end of the day, what he said was not factually correct. And I want to make sure that people understand the facts.
The president will campaign in Georgia tonight as some of his allies tell NBC News they are worried that phone call could depress Republican turnout and even harm America's democracy. Lester.
All right, Kristen Welker at the White House this evening. Thanks. Tonight, some House Democrats are asking the FBI to investigate the president's call to that Georgia official. The question is, did it break the law? Pete Williams has been reporting on this. Pete, what do we know?
Lester, most legal experts say it would be very hard to bring a federal or state criminal case. Federal law makes it a crime to knowingly and willfully attempt to deprive the residents of a state of a fair election. Keyword, knowingly. A prosecutor would have to prove that the president knew that he lost the election, and that might be difficult since he seems to think he won. A Georgia state law makes it a crime to importune, that is, to urge someone to commit election fraud. And there's no knowing requirement. The local prosecutor in Georgia would need more, though, than just the phone call, possibly including testimony from others in the White House, and that might be hard to get, Lester.
All right, Pete Williams this evening. Thanks. On Wednesday, dozens of Republicans in Congress plan to challenge the election results during the Electoral College count, a ritual usually free of dissent, but certainly not this year. Casey Hunt on a party divided.
As President Trump refuses to accept the results of the 2020 election, his Republican Party splintering in two.
I plan to object to certain contested electors on January 6th.
With dozens of his allies in the House planning to object to the Electoral College count on Wednesday, Senator Josh Hawley has said he'll sign on, forcing an up or down vote on whether President-elect Joe Biden won. A dozen more Republican senators say they'll vote to object unless there's a commission to study the results.
We ought to have a fair inquiry, a fair audit into these results.
Establishment Republicans are warning objecting is a political and moral disaster. Mitch McConnell calling it a vote of conscience and the most consequential vote I have ever cast. Mitt Romney, the Republican presidential nominee in 2012, said it dangerously threatens the republic. Liz Cheney, the number 3 House Republican, writing in a blistering 21-page memo to her colleagues Sunday that objecting violates Republicans' core beliefs and would set an exceptionally dangerous precedent. President Trump quickly attacking Republicans who don't support the effort, labeling them the Surrender Caucus.
If members of Congress take up false claims of voter fraud and try to use those to overturn an election that they do not like, they will be on the wrong side of history.
The objections could stretch a count that usually takes just half an hour into an hours-long marathon at the Capitol, though it won't change the outcome. Lester.
Casey, thank you very much. And then there is this, an unprecedented warning from all 10 living former defense secretaries calling on the military to stay out of election disputes and carry out the transition fully, cooperatively, and transparently. Here's Andrea Mitchell.
Clearly alarmed by President Trump's actions, the former Pentagon leaders from both parties writing in the Washington Post, efforts to involve the U.S. Armed Forces in resolving election disputes would take us into dangerous, unlawful, and unconstitutional territory. Former Secretary William Cohn.
So just want to make sure that the military understands its role is not to abide by illegal, unethical, unpatriotic orders coming from the President of the United States. Sad to have to say that.
The idea for the statement originated with former Defense Secretary Dick Cheney, who as vice president presided over his party quickly certifying Barack Obama's Electoral College victory. But President Trump ousted his Defense Secretary Mark Esper for protesting proposals to use the military in Lafayette Park last June. The president also purged the top ranks of other Pentagon officials. And last week, President-elect Biden called out the Pentagon, he says, for obstructing the transition.
We just aren't getting all the information that we need for the outgoing administration in key national security areas.
No response from the Pentagon, but Secretary Cohen says they're also warning against any unwarranted action in hotspots around the world. Lester.
Andrea Mitchell, thanks. What's causing gas prices to jump and how you can save. plus the best diets for 2021. Back now with gas prices on the rise in the U.S., Vicki Wynn on what's causing the spike and how you can still save.
For the first time since the pandemic hit, drivers across the country are seeing a bump in prices at the pump.
Well, what can you do? It's not really the time to be taking public transportation if you don't have to.
I do Uber Eats, so I'm a delivery driver, so it kind of sucks.
Analysts say the price hikes are being driven by COVID-19 developments. Crude oil costing more thanks to confidence in the vaccine, commuters considering a return to the office, and travelers looking to fly again.
We are at about a national average today of $2.25 a gallon. That's up from about $2.11 just a few weeks ago. So it's been a pretty abrupt increase. And we could see another 5 to 15 cent increase over the next couple of weeks.
But even with higher gas prices, Americans are paying about 35 cents less than we did last year. Still, families are looking to save. About 1 million people have signed up for the Gas Buddy Pay Card, a free program that gives users up to 25 cents off a gallon at stations across the country.
You can also save at grocery chains that offer gas discounts. Think Walmart Plus, Safeway, Kroger, or wholesale clubs like Costco, BJ's, and Sam's Club. Lester?
All right, Vicki, thanks for the tips. Up next, get a healthy start to 2021. The top diets just out. We're 4 days into 2021, and if your New Year's resolution is to shed a few pounds, the new list of the best diets can give you a healthy start. Here's Jolene Kent.
It's that time of year when millions of Americans set goals for a healthier lifestyle. And in this pandemic, the top-ranked diets may be more accessible than ever. Leading the list, the popular Mediterranean diet for the 4th year in a row, followed by the flexitarian diet, the low-sodium DASH diet, and Weight Watchers.
Experts say these eating plans rank really highly because they're relatively simple, incorporating fruits and veggies and whole grains. And they're driven by what you can eat versus maybe what you shouldn't, which is helpful in these really stressful times.
That's why popular diets like Whole30 and Keto have plummeted in the rankings, because they can be harder to follow.
How much has COVID-19 changed the way that we're dieting right now?
Everybody has been through the ringer this past year. There is no doubt about it. And if we enjoy it more, and if we're delighted with what we're eating, we're going to be more successful.
And with 50 million people facing food insecurity, the top diets are also more compatible with tight budgets.
Because they are primarily focused on legumes, the grains, rice, pasta. Those are low price point items.
A healthy start without breaking the bank. Jolene Kent, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Up next, we speak to the surfer who made a dramatic rescue that's inspiring America. Finally, the surfer who was the right guy at the right time on the beach. Gotti Schwartz with Inspiring America.
When the swells are heavy on Hawaii's North Shore, even wading out into the water can turn in a flash.
Oh no!
This video, shot by pro surfer Mikey Wright, captures a woman being dragged out by a powerful undertow.
You getting dragged out.
You hear Mikey quickly get rid of his drink in hand.
Nice, how this?
Then he breaks into a full sprint. Moments later, Mikey is battling churning currents.
I got her in my arms. I just told her, I said, hey, you're going to be okay. Like, you're going to, we're going to get in and we're going to be safe.
His sister, pro surfer Tyler Wright, helping from shore.
It looked like your sister was right there reading the water and telling you exactly where to go.
Tyler was kind of directing from the beach, trying to get us out of the danger zone. She warned us that there was a wave that was coming.
I know my brother. He's going to protect the woman with his own body.
In the end, a close call summed up perfectly by the mullet sporting surf hero. His Instagram caption, accurate and simple. Hold my beer. Gotti Schwartz, NBC News.
You gotta love that. That's Nightly News for this Monday. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.